Morning. Here is morning, afternoon, night over there, and of course with the recordings, if you sit back at home, watch this later on, our CEO and Innovation Manager. Peter, to start with you, the theme of this year is collaboration. Well, to me it actually sounds self-evident for the Amsterdam Internet Exchange, but why this special emphasis on collaboration this year?
Yeah, the easy answer would be collaboration is always important. And if you look back in the history of AMS-IX, I think we've always been working on that collaboration and working with the ecosystem. But looking at specifically last year, the pandemic and everything coming from that, I think collaboration has become more important than ever. Great things have been achieved very quickly through collaboration. And I think the same thing is true for AMS-IX.
Yes.
So AMS-IX itself is a collaboration platform for our members, for our customers. And I think we want to re-emphasize that, therefore. And specifically this year, this event is about sort of reuniting with people we haven't seen for a long time. And therefore, the focus on collaboration.
And that's what pairing is all about, right? Collaboration.
Exactly.
You both benefit.
Exactly. You said it well. And like I said, it's at the DNA of what we do. It's still as important as it's been for the past 25 years, yes, or longer. So that's why we wanted to, like I said, re-stress the fact that collaboration is critically important.
Yeah. Each year I always see staggering growth figures, but that being said, the AMS-IX is also going through a process of digital transformation. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, we are. I think last year was exceptional. If you look at the trend of the number of years, then last year was, of course, again, through the pandemic, exceptional in terms of growth.
Yes.
It was sort of the good old days, double-digit growth, etc. So fantastic. And thank you to all our customers and members for making that possible. And of course, the team, in very difficult circumstances, being able to support that. But yeah, the trends in the market are also of consolidation. So we see a lot of that happening. The market is becoming mature. The internet space is becoming more and more mature. And that means consolidation. That means a need for optimization. But it also means that we need to look at new services that we can provide our customers and our members to benefit from. And in order to do that, we set out our strategy now over 2 years ago to be based on 3 main pillars: innovate, optimize, and grow. And in order to do that, we also need to have the right tooling, the right platform, with the associated processes, of course. So we're on this journey where we want to become, as an organization, this lean, sort of lean, mean machine, if you will, a bit hyper term, but really have an efficient organization, but also really, therefore, free up the time and the benefit to build additional value-added services for our customers. So that's where the innovate bit comes in.
Okay.
Whereas the optimize and grow is much more about making sure we are efficient, driving costs down, but value up. Size does matter in a market that is consolidating. Size does also matter, I think, in the fact that we have a lot of regulatory type discussions going on about privacy and how do we go about cloud, malicious data, etc. So that's where size does matter to remain relevant. But again, innovation is critically important to diversify and continue to add value-added services to our customers. So hence, innovate, optimize, grow.
Yeah, but that being said, optimize and grow sounds self-evident for an internet exchange. But doesn't it conflict a bit with innovation? Because, well, as an internet exchange, you really want to do the same thing better,
yes,
and be stable, and don't do, something out of the ordinary. But innovation, you need to, well, let's say, break things.
Yes.
Does that also mean another culture, another kind of people you need?
Yeah, all very good questions, and all true. So you could argue that it is a conflicting strategy, innovate and optimize and grow. Even if you go back to marketing theories, the Kotler type theories about operational excellence or customer intimacy. However, we are convinced these are, although there's 3 pillars, but there's the 2 things we need to do. We do need to continuously look at optimizing our operation and driving costs down, attacking the cost model of our customers and helping them drive costs down. So we need to do that, and partially through optimization. But you can only do so much. You become more and more efficient, and there's going to be percentages of benefits coming out of that cost-wise. If you want to break the mold and really try and do new things, offer different types of value-added services, maybe sometimes also to different customers, because the customer landscape, of course, is also changing. You have to innovate. You have to come up with new ideas. Is that a different culture? Yes. I think AMS-IX for a very long time has been this sort of high reliability organization, where the reliability of the product, the service, the platform is key, and that's going to remain. We're not gonna discount the quality of what we deliver. However, in trying to come up with new ideas and new value-added services, we decided to organize that slightly differently. Hence, Elena being in the role of innovation manager, we've set apart a specific budget for that, because we do realize it does require a different mindset. It does require a mindset of failing fast and often. I mentioned this before. I think I like, it's almost like a weird thing. I like the fact that if SpaceX is crashing another rocket, they're cheering, because they've learned something. And they've learned something that is going to prevent them from crashing a rocket when there's people on board, or a very expensive satellite, for example. And I think that's such a different mindset. But within a number of years, they've been able to launch people, and actually are now in the race of putting people on the moon and Mars. Yes. Right? And they've been able to do that in a very short amount of time, because they are willing to fail at things, but fail at it and learn. Yes. Right? And if I then go back to the original mentality of AMS-IX, where we've done a lot of innovation in the past, the ability to learn and then optimize things is the thing that comes very closely after innovation. So once we've thought out a new idea, we then need to industrialize it, and again put that AMS-IX quality stamp on it and make sure that it works. So that's where I think the two come together. But it's a bit of a long answer. But ultimately, you need to break some eggs to make an omelet, as the saying goes. Yeah. And therefore, we do need to have some new culture elements, maybe even new people, or free them up in the case of Elena, to do different things than focus on just quality. Yeah.
So if nothing goes wrong, you actually took too few risks. Can I say that?
It's a difficult question to answer. Risk is about hoping that it doesn't happen, of course. But all the cliches are true, right? You only learn from making a mistake. It only goes wrong if you try it, etc. So you do need to introduce a certain amount of risk. What we're not going to do is we're not going to risk the production platform to innovate. No. Right? So that is almost quarantined, segregated from the innovation activities we're doing. But at one point, once we have done the innovation and the new product is there, we have an MVP. We are going to bring that baby to market, and then also integrate it into the platform.
So are the new ideas coming from the AMS-IX people themselves, or do you drawing ideas from customers, relations, partners?
Yeah, the short answer is both. We started, however, with more of an outside-in view, also because we felt that we've been very much focused on the quality bit, and we needed a little bit of a jolt, right? A bit of a nudge to get this thing going. So we really started with outside in, and that's what Elena will talk about in a minute. But of course, there's also a lot of good ideas internally. So we'll bring those to bear. And yeah, it's also an invite to everybody watching or everybody within our community. Yeah, if they have ideas about what we can do better, yes, maybe that's optimized, but also things we could do new to help them become more efficient, then we're absolutely open. Yeah. And are really inviting people to come on and work with us on the innovation bit. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a very interesting new function within the Amsterdam Internet Exchange, being the innovation manager. Elena Illich, you started in April 2020 with this new function created within AMS-IX, doing innovative projects. Can you mention a few you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Peter mentioned, we started this role last year, so it's been just over a year now within an innovation. And it's been a very interesting journey thus far. And I'll probably take you back to a bit of a historic walk in terms of what we have accomplished. So taking on innovation within a highly reliable organization such as AMS-IX had its sort of hurdles to tackle. And the first thing that we thought of doing was trying to look inside out to see and understand who our people are and what they believe in terms of AMS-IX as a brand. And once we understood the fundamentals of what keeps us going and what makes us so great at what we do, we went externally. And we talk to organizations that don't understand what peering is, organizations that don't use ASNs, that don't know what an ASN is, but people that needed connectivity on a day-to-day basis to get their organizations running. And whilst talking to these companies throughout the Netherlands, we learned a lot in the sense that the need for collaborating together to exchange information was so crucial, but the lack of knowledge and the ability to do it on an easy perspective was what was missing. And it sort of triggered a lot of ideas. It triggered a lot of thought process in the sense of saying, how are we as AMS-IX going to help organizations better connect together to do what they need to do? I'll isolate an industry such as logistics, who needs to ensure that, as an example, they need to ensure how the movement of traffic or their movement of data between the lorries, between the trains, between the planes, as well as the mechanics within the different planes and trains, how they all collaborate together. They struggled with moving this information. They struggled with seeing how, if a seat in a plane is broken, how are they going to get it to the right mechanic to fix it on time and ensure that it's been updated and it's been resolved. So even though they battle with different problems, the underlying fundamental was how can we collaborate together to fix it. And through these sort of different conversations, we've actually ended up talking about one major project called AMS-IX. And AMS-IX is public information now. It is a collaborative project, which stands for the Amsterdam Data Exchange. It grew from collaborating with organizations such as the Amsterdam Economic Board, Dexus, the UvA, as well as SURF. So the 5 of us partners have come together to create what we believe is going to be the future of how to exchange data. There's a lot of research done around it. There's a lot of work to do around it. And it's a project that is going to last for the next 3 years. It has received a large subsidy as well to be able to help fund this project. And there's a lot of very intelligent people working together to try and figure out what is it that we can do to build a better and safer way to exchange information. So it sits very close to the core of what AMS-IX stands for, in the sense of saying, how can we ensure that the movement of information is safe? And it's on a new layer. Data to us is still new. How to exchange data is new. I'm not a technical person, and yet I know that we have a place there. I know that we have a way in which we should be a part of building this new platform. And learning and failing whilst getting to that MVP is exactly what we want to accomplish. We want to know, right, that's a great mistake that we've made. We've learned from it. What can we do better next? So I believe that there's a lot of will within our own company and within our partners that we're working with who want to keep striving to figure out what's the next best thing, what's the next best way to move forward and build new things. And I guess the one interesting thing that I've learned over the last year is that innovation takes time. You don't wake up in the morning with this bright idea and it works. It takes time. And it's through all of these learnings and the patience and conversations that we get better each day with figuring out what it is that we're going to build.
But here you have an example where you determine a need in the market and you have external ideas, getting them into AMS-IX. So how do you recruit people within AMS-IX to go along? I mean, most of them are focused on growth and continuity and say, oh, there's a little bit of new idea. And how do you translate the enthusiasm outside in?
That's a great question. I try. It's a matter of presenting a good idea and getting people on board. I think the more that we try work in-house together and share the idea and make everyone believe in the idea is what brings people to it. So I've noticed that the more that we're inclusive with regards to ideas and we lean on each other's expertise and we turn to each other for advice, then the ownership of an idea starts growing. And people want to be a part of a change. They want to be a part of a great movement that will bring something that will add value to what we already do.
Yes, yes. So what is your degree of freedom? I mean, Peter just mentioned, well, you can fail. Can you fail?
Absolutely.
You have to fail.
I have to fail. It's an interesting way to turn to the boss and say, hey, I failed, but I like that I failed. So yeah, it's phenomenal. I think the support from the management team within AMS-IX has been incredible with regards to trying out new things. I have the freedom to turn to different types of organizations and talk to them and learn and come back and share ideas and share information that may not be relevant to us. But it's through all of these conversations that you get places. You know, I've got a project now which I'm on the fence of parking it aside and saying, it didn't work. It just didn't work.
And then you can just kill it. You can say, okay, we'll stop.
We'll archive it for a bit and keep it there and figure out ways to pull it out again. But it's okay to do that. And I think that's an interesting concept that people sometimes can be afraid to fail. And it takes a lot of energy to fail and then say, you know what, stand up again tomorrow and we go again. Yeah. And I think the organization supports it. And I think from that is where we will create what will be the next great thing to add to our portfolio.
Yeah. So you're actually building startups within, a very stable and growing organization.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Another project what was mentioned, the Energy Index. Could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. I think it stems from a bit of a passion, so hence the freedom of what we can do. So there is a passion for sustainability, and I think it's something that is a conversation that runs on a global scale anyway. I think there's a need for understanding carbon neutrality. I think there's a need for figuring out how we can be better towards the environment around us. We as a industry, we consume a lot of energy in different ways. There may be talks about data centers consuming energy, but there's also talks about, you know, what fiber cables in the ground do to consume energy and how much we're disruptive towards the flora and fauna around us. And through all these conversations, we sort of somehow got to the talk about the energy index and figuring out, is there a standard in telco with regards to an energy index? Do we abide by any standards? What do we aim for? So questions like this started popping up to figure out, can we sort of create some sort of an energy index whereby enterprises right now who are very reliant with regards to how much energy they consume within all of their RFPs turn towards providers that focus on energy in a way. But this is a project that needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of collaboration. So if there are any parties listening in that think, hey, we'd love to be a part of it, then by all means, please reach out. Yeah. But it's a start. So we have to get things off the ground and say, you know, we as a community, we need to think together in terms of how we can do things better and how we can be a bit more aware of all of our surroundings, be it in different verticals.
To make it a little bit more concrete, I mean, indexes for energy use, can you say, well, it's so many kilowatts hour per terabit, or does it go in that direction? Or does it become that concrete?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So it can go that concrete to understanding what is the usage that we, should say, per individual server. What is the usage that we have if we watch certain types of content, if we're in a certain neighborhood. So it's understanding how can we improve the usage of the internet and the usage of all the communication that we have. Yeah. At the same time, it also comes down to understanding whether something like eco-routes is a possibility. So how do we connect now and where are we connecting now? Is there a better place that we can have a better impact on the amount of energy that we use? Yes, and I know that we're coining the term eco-routes at the moment, and it's something that we want to carry on elaborating on, but it's figuring out how best can you as a user at home connect to certain applications on the internet, but know that you're not making a huge energy impact by doing so. Yeah.
Yeah, you can measure impact and progress, but you might also combat more popular stories. There was this gag, you know, each Google search can light a light bulb of 40 watts for an hour. I don't know who made that up, but it's impossible to measure something like that. But these indicators will actually go in that direction.
Correct. Okay. Well, hopefully. Cool. I mean, it's I say correct now, but this is part of the innovation, right?
Of course.
So maybe I say it now, yes, and next year I say, oh, that didn't quite work, Chris, but we figured something else out instead.
Yes.
So it's the journey we've begun on.
Yeah, perhaps also connection with peering, because if a search goes globally, then it's very difficult to measure in all these different networks. But if you're in a data center, you can much easily pinpoint this is where the energy is spent, and it goes to that cable. So awesome, cool. Any other project you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're trying to help the enterprise sector, which is always a very interesting topic. And we believe that we've found a way in which we can bring the enterprise into AMS-IX. So we're working on a project called Managed Interconnection, which should be ready to go as soon as more IP is done. So in the next few weeks or so, people will be hearing more about it. but it's understanding how these large organizations who've got tens of thousands of employees and a lot of different servers and ways of which they need to use infrastructure, how they can connect and better improve their own communication or improve the way in which they collaborate with different applications. So that's a project that'll be off the ground very soon.
Do they need to be close to AMS-IX in the Amsterdam area, or is that a global project?
For now, we're keeping it in the Netherlands, and once we're very confident with it, then we'll think about taking it to some of our other locations.
Yeah. There might be people sitting at home having a brilliant idea. Can I just send you an email or call you about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then you will judge whether it's a project which you would like to take on or not.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the projects we do start on, so I think it's a great way that people reach out and then we can sit down together and figure out whether we are the right partner to do that with.
Oh, yeah, you might also direct them to other partners.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, yes. Peter, in the meanwhile, we got a question from the audience. Dick van Schoneveld, you perhaps know. Question for Peter. Could you elaborate on new ideas and propositions of AMS-IX for the enterprise market? Well, you already touched upon that, but...
Do I need to say more, Dick? I know Dick. Hi, thank you for the question. Yeah, no, I think the example that Elena gave is a good one. Another part of what's, I think, important in working with enterprises is to understand their requirements and what they need. So to have that as an idea engine, if you will, for that outside-in view. And that's where again, collaboration is so important. So change is hard, and that's another wisdom. So it's a lot of hard work, and the CEO prerogative is always more faster. And that's what we're trying to do. We do these two things. So rather than try and invent the wheel, we want to talk to enterprises and understand what's going on, see how we can build solutions that either we can do direct, if nobody else is doing it, or go through the partners we have, and therefore collaborate. And I think one thing that we realize very clearly is that we're in our own digital transformation, which is, of course, not just about the digital tooling, but also about process and people and everything that comes with it. But I think, accelerated through the pandemic, every company is in their digital transformation.
Yes.
We're becoming more digital. We're becoming more, we live more online. Even though we're coming out of this lockdown, people will remain working from home. Online shopping will remain, things like that. So it's also trying to really understand what are the prime drivers in that enterprise space. So we can then bring them in and see if we can bring products. Now, managed interconnect could be one, but that's only the connection part. And another thing we're thinking of is if you then look at the wealth of services we can offer through the ecosystem we have on our platform, whether that's on security, whether that's on unified communications, collaboration, whatever, those things would then potentially become available to those enterprise customers as well. So it's also about building a community of value or a community of interest that we can then facilitate. Yes. And I think it's important to stress that, what we do is connectivity and peering. And so the bulk of what we do will remain about that. But we have so many strong partners on our platform that we really want to offer the opportunity to come with us, work with us, and address these markets. So we have a number of ideas, but I think the question would almost be reversed to Dick. If you have any great ideas, he always has.
Yes.
Please come and join us.
And these two days are a perfect platform to do this collaboration, to exchange ideas. And, to be honest, just go a little bit back in time when I visited my first more IP 6 years ago. It actually took me a few editions to get a grasp of what you're actually doing at More IP. In the beginning, I was thinking, well, it's a technical conference. So some of the technical talks were quite self-evident. There were some talks about the internet. But they had these very long breaks in between. And then everybody just got started and talking to each other. And it suddenly struck me, then peering is connecting within data centers, so the data doesn't go all around the world. But More IP is about connecting people who do the connection. Actually, absolutely, we are the people who keep the internet running. Okay, can I summarize it like that?
Well, absolutely. And I myself had a similar experience when I joined AMS-IX. I understood connectivity and switching and what have you, but peering is a specific thing within that market. Sorry for the coughing, by the way. I have tested myself and I'm negative, but
okay.
Sometimes you have a bit of a cough. But It is absolutely true, and it's also true that there is a wealth of technology behind it, and there's more and more automation, and artificial intelligence is kicking off, and what have you. But in the end, right, it's people. It's people doing business. It's people running platforms. It's people coming up with these ideas.
Yes.
So it is very much a people business.
Yes.
And yeah, that's why the socials. It may sound like a lot of fun, and it is, of course, also. But it is very much about connecting those people, collaboration, and breeding these ideas.
Yeah. Normally people walk down the hall, go upstairs for a cup of coffee. Now we have Mojo during the day, and in the evening we will be having Spatial Chat, sponsored by Iron Mountain. Have you visited any of the platforms yet? One of yes, you did, Elena.
Yeah, the Spatial Chat's really cool.
Yeah. What does it look like?
It's just a way
There was
to
a bar, a lounge.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure what the backdrop is for more IP, but it's pretty cool in the sense of how technology has done its thing again, and you can all be in one room, but move around a room and have individual conversations without anyone else hearing or listening in. And
Okay.
it's pretty cool. So I would recommend everyone try
Maybe
it
a
out.
bit of a generation thing, but it's almost a bit like Second Life, right? Where you can really mingle and coordinate and almost have real life.
Habbo Hotel. Well, it's even more ancient. I'm older than you. Okay, that sounds very cool, but well, people are dispersed all over the world, so I can imagine that tonight there will, well, people on the other side of the world just waking up and go to the Spatial Chat, and then yeah, that's a big difference with the physical conference. Well, people who have been to More IP before, you might recognize the venue. We're again in Pakhuis de Zwijger, but well, we hope you feel at home at the Spatial Chat and the other platforms we have. So to round this up, today we'll be having a lot of talks. Mostly the first day, it's the more general talks. Arjen van Elke talking about freedom. Julia Jansen, who's an artist, talking about your online identity. We'll also have a couple of technical talks, of course. Tomorrow we'll be having the technical committee, of course, with a new CTO. But what are the talks you're looking forward to, Peter?
That's Sophie's choice, right? So I'm looking forward to all of them. But I think, again, the team managed to have a very interesting program. And of course, collaboration is a great coat hanger, if you will, for great discussions. And if I indeed think about things like your online identity, I mean, I'm a father of a couple of teenagers, and I talk about that a lot with them, right? And because they share anything and everything, of course, and they grew up with a phone in their hand and all of that. But slowly but gradually, they also start to understand that it is important to think about these things and to not share everything always, and really be conscious of the fact that, your online identity is maybe as important, if not more important sometimes than your physical, in the sense that it physically you can make a mistake, and if there's nobody present, who would know? Online, it's going to be there forever. So all of them have topics that I think are relevant to where we sit as a society, as a company, as an industry. So it would be very hard to choose, but all of them have something in it that is relevant to all of us currently on the show.
Julia's presentation is actually quite funny because he brings a book which is about this size, A4, and 12 centimeters thick, and it's actually a printed version of all the service level agreements you click on when you agree, when you visit a certain site, and you say, oh, okay, then this is the amount of legal text you're agreeing to. This is quite funny.
Somebody once said it's the biggest lie on the internet that you click, okay, I have read and understood these terms and conditions. Right?
You don't. Elena, any favorites for you these coming 2 days?
Absolutely. So I believe it's this afternoon we are looking into quantum internet.
Oh yes,
It's
looking
really
forward to
cool.
that.
Very cool. So I think that's a great way to to showcase how we are innovating from different sectors. So innovation, we mentioned earlier on, that stems from different people within an organization. And this is a very technical route. There's a lot of learning. It's already created a lot of excitement within AMS-IX. And I think that'll be a great conversation to listen into this afternoon. And tomorrow we're also diving a little bit into the health sector.
Oh, yes,
So
of course, yes.
Definitely would recommend everyone to listen on that. I believe there's a lot of great information coming out of it. And it sort of definitely showcases how we are collaborating to figure out what we need to do next.
Yes.
I think that's the key message that we're trying to portray.
Yeah, the quantum internet with Joshua Slater. And for most people, quantum sound like a far future science fiction. No, it's here. We've been working on it for several years, and we actually have a demo of a quantum internet. And the big question is, what is different from a quantum internet than the internet we have now? I already learned from Joshua, it might be IP-based, it will be network-based, but entanglement is a very different ballpark. So stay tuned for these wonderful talks this afternoon and, of course, tomorrow. Okay, thank you for this kickoff. Peter and Elena, you'll be here all days, and no more questions on the chat. So thank you very much.
Thank you.